Check. Hi, friends. Welcome back. Nice to see you. My name's Dean. We're here. You're here. Everybody's here. As always, brought to you by our friends at Cantork for industrial torque wrenches nobody can make, only them. Go to cantork.com for more information. Ask for Colin. And, of course, Gitch, luxury branded underwear, boxer briefs, pouch in the front, can't miss. Free pair of Gitch with Gitch3, your promo code at edsfineimports.com. Well, hello, Lachlan Cross from 957 Cruise FM in Edmonton. He's back. Nice to see you. Good to have you. Well, you look like you just
friend.
got out of the sauna. Is what you did. Your face is red. Your eyes are all fucked up. Are you okay? You all right? Oh, you just woke up.
I had a little nap.
Right.
Yep.
How was it? A little mid-afternoon nap?
try.
You're a napper, aren't you? You like to have a nice little afternoon snooze. You're a snoozer.
I don't. I honestly don't want to be the napper. And I'll tell you why. Because I have a tendency to sleep really, really hard.
Yeah.
So when I go down, even if it's for 45 minutes, I'm like, and then I wake up and then I feel like I've been in a car accident.
No idea where you are. You're like, what the fuck just happened? You may have eaten before you went to sleep too, and you wake up with indigestion and you're pissed off. If you're like me, I wake up pissed off like fucking every single day. So I get that.
I don't do that, but I'm definitely I feel like draggy for a bit.
Yeah.
But I get up so freaking early, right? And last night I tried to stay up and watch the game. I gave up after the second period.
Because it was like 7-1. Is that why you gave up?
It was 5-1 when I said lights out.
Yeah, you got some sleep.
So I got some sleep, and then not as much as I would normally get. I got about 6.5 last night, 6 hours. And I would normally get 7.5, 8 on a normal night. So I decided to have a little nap before the pod.
Attaboy, you look good. You got a coffee going. Joining us for the program today, also from the Hot Wallet Podcast, stockmarketmentor.com. You can find him, Scotty Mac. Scott trades on Twitter. Scotty's here. Scott, do you have an afternoon nap? Do you have time, or does money wait for nobody?
No, I can't nap during the day because the market's open. So I did stay up for most of the game last night, unfortunately, because it was the first game of the year. And I thought, the thing with the Oilers is you can never give up because they can be down 7-1 and then you wake up and it's like, whoa, they won 9-8 or whatever. Or sometimes it gets even worse. So,
dude, that's what I did last night, Scott. So Leafs are down 5-3 in the third. The first half of the third was just I'm going to use the word. I don't even give a shit anymore. An abortion of a fucking hockey period. I was just like, can't even watch this anymore. So I turn it off. I'm emailing with Adler. We're texting each other about the game, like Charles Adler, legendary guy. He and I are like pals now, text pals. I'm like, he's like, the Leafs suck tonight. Austin Matthews better earn his money. And I'm like, at that point, it's like 5-3. All of a sudden, Austin Matthews like, bang, 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 natural hat trick. And I turn on my fucking phone. It's like, they're in a shootout. So I come back downstairs in my Gitch, turn on the TV, watch the whole thing, watch the entire shootout. It's the last little bit of the third, the overtime, and then I watched a little bit of the shootout. And I'm like, I'm the biggest sports loser on the planet. So every time I decide to turn off a game, you can't. I mean, 5-1 is different than 5-3. That's I turn it off at 5-3. Opening night for the Oilers, you were excited. Opening night for the Leafs, I was excited. And I turned it off, and I was like embarrassed. I was shamed. I was full of shame turning this game off.
You're not a real fan.
Loser. Yeah, I know.
You're not a real fan. You got to stick through it.
You're a tier 2 fan.
If that. I used to be a tier 1 hockey guy, and I don't know if it was the pandemic. It's fucked me all up. I don't know if it was the pandemic. I'm not too sure what it is, but I can't even sit through like 3 periods of hockey anymore. I watched the third, not even half the third, got annoyed by half the third, and then just turned it off. Forget it.
I have been the thing with me and sports is I'm always just absolutely amazed at the guys that have somehow figured out a way to convince their wives that they should do nothing all day Sunday and get up, make breakfast, and sit in front of the TV and watch 14 hours of football. And so I've always been kind of shocked by that level of commitment to a sport. And not only that level of commitment to disengaging from your family for that. Like, I feel wildly guilty if I go play a round of golf.
Yeah.
That I haven't spent, that time with my wife or doing a chore or working on a project. So I'm kind of amazed at anybody that can spend 3 hours sitting down watching anything, because I can't. Like, it's on, but I'm working. I'm doing something around the house. I'm doing laundry. Like, I'm a multitasker anyway.
Oh, you're the worst.
So,
dude, every time I talk to him, Scott, this is a true story. Every time I phone him or he phones me, he's like, hey, you got a minute? If it's after like 7 o'clock, 2 things I can guarantee you Lachlan's doing. Maybe 3. He's got a beer in his hand. He's doing some kind of domestic chore, fixing the furnace, folding laundry, regrouting the fucking bathtub. I called once and he was regrouting the tiles in the bathtub and wouldn't stop. He's like, I'm like, what are you doing? And there's a hockey game on in the background.
That's a blue job.
He's talking to me. He's one of those guys, multiple input dudes. He's like talking to me. He's grouting the fucking tile in the bathtub, and he's got the hockey game on, and he's like lucid, and he's drinking at the same time. Sorry, it's like 4 things, Scott. I am not wired like that. Like, I watch him operate, and I'm like, dude, I am so one track. Like, I think I'm on the spectrum at this point in my life where I'm like, I can't even get past certain subjects. I'm like, and there's Lachlan just wheeling through 4 or 5 different things on a phone call. Which, Scott, you're married. Lach's married. Does your wife get upset with you if you sit and watch an entire hockey game or spend Sunday going, babe, tough week on the market. I'm going to watch football all day long.
No, she's usually pretty cool. I feel bad for my kids because sometimes my kids will try and have a conversation with me. Last night, opening game, and I said, my daughter's like, hey, Dad, look, I'm playing Barbies. This Barbie's married to this. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know what it is right now, but I can't focus because I'm watching Connor McDavid. And so I'm not a multitasker. I'm a single tasker. I can watch the game. And then during the commercial, great. I have to turn the volume all the way down, and then I can focus on whatever.
And aren't you just super fucking annoyed by your kids when they do that too? Seriously, Lachlan's like shaking his head because he's going to tell the truth because he's honest. But when your kid comes up to you and you're in the middle of fucking watching something, it could be a movie, could be a hockey game. My kids are older, so it's no big deal. But when they were little, it'd be like, Daddy, look, I can jump. And you're like, not really, you can't.
Shut up.
I'm watching something right now.
Kids ruin your lives.
Yeah. And Daddy, look at my big hand. And you're like, it's a tiny hand. Yeah. You're an idiot. I'm watching something.
It's usually something trivial or about a YouTuber or a video game. And I'm just like, I don't really have time.
Hey, Daddy, I got a high score. Yeah, no one cares. Literally, you're the only person playing it. You're the only person that cares. Daddy's watching the hockey game. And they're down bad.
I just have bad attention span for that. So I can't, it's not that I don't care. It's just that I can't care right at the second.
I know. I get it.
Listen, you're in a safe space here, Scott. You can tell us the truth.
Speaking of safe spaces, what do we make of the,
it's all good.
Did anybody use the Pride tape last night? It was like, we're 2 days in the NHL season. The NHL bans Pride tape of all the tapes in the world. They just banned Pride tape.
I thought, did Bedard?
Did Bedard wear it?
There was something about Bedard.
I don't know if he did.
I didn't look it up. Because I thought it came up that somebody skated out. Maybe it was during the.
No,
son of a bitch. No. It doesn't matter.
No, he didn't. Bedard did not say anything. He did not release a statement about Pride tape. NHL. Adler and I talked about this the other day. I don't know if you have an opinion on it, Scott. It was kind of interesting. It's like, because I read into it, and they're like, okay, Pride tape. NHL is like banned across the league. NHL is an initiative. We're banning fucking Pride tape. No one's allowed to use the rainbow color Pride tape to talk about or support LGBT community safe spaces. Lachlan used a great couple of words there. I liked it. However, you can use any color tape anytime you want. You can do any tape on your stick that you like. It's just totally up to you. But you can't use Pride tape. Did thoughts, gentlemen?
Well, I think they're just worried about the whole go woke, go broke thing, and the backlash that may bring. I really think that's what it is. I mean, I don't have a personal opinion about it. I think they should, use whatever tape you want to use. It doesn't matter. Yeah, and the people who want to use Pride tape should be able to use Pride tape. And those who don't want to, cool, use whatever color. So I was surprised with the blanket ban.
Yeah. Well, and I mentioned this to Dean earlier, Scott. This is the NHL and a lot of organizations. This is where they screw up. They go, all right, we're going to be inclusive. Okay. We're going to have a Pride night and we're going to force all of our players to wear the jersey or the helmet or whatever it is. You have to. Everybody in the league. if you're playing tonight, you gotta wear this. If you're playing this week, you gotta wear this. And then there's a handful of guys that go, I'm not comfortable with that based on my religion, whatever the case might be. Then there's all this focus on those 2, 3, 4 assholes. So then instead of just walking away, letting it simmer for a while and forgetting it and not dealing with it, then they go and they make it worse and they go, all right, no one gets to wear anything. So they've just completely reversed the decision and they fucked themselves because now they were trying to be inclusive and now they're not being inclusive at all. And no one knows what message they're sending. And,
based on, dude, keep in mind, it's based on like 4 Russians, James Reimer, who's technically an idiot, and the Stalls, who have a collective education of like the 12th grade, right? So like those are the only, they're like, that's against my, and everybody used the same excuse. It's against my religion to use that tape. And I'm like, fuck.
The one thing about the Russians, I will say,
show me in one of the 10 commandments where it's like, thou shalt not use pride tape on your twig, bruh. Like,
well, I will say this. The Russians, it's a bit of a different thing for them, right? Like if they go home for a Christmas break, someone might throw them over a building.
And their mom is hanging over the fireplace. Yeah, I get it.
It's a bit different.
I get it. But that's a geopolitical thing. It's not like an entire band. Like if you think about it.
So here's what you do.
Hang on. You had 7. I have my hand up for 5. Let me add another 2. You had 7 players say it's against my religion or not interested in using pride tape or wearing that jersey. Good, great. I happen to be of the opinion that we've turned this into a monetization thing as opposed to like a do-good thing. So like, I'm cool if we just let people be people. I don't care. But I love the safe space, love the idea. We all know why Brian Burke rides for this so much as well, because of his son Brendan, who passed away, and it was very important to him to keep his memory alive. I get that, and he's correct. However, I mean, we just had like the start of the NHL season, and that is all we're still talking about. Like, that's it. Like, to the point where someone said the other day, what do you think this? I was listening to the radio, which is a shame, right? It just in itself. So I was listening to the radio, and then this guy's like, coming up next is like on a sports station. He's like, coming up next, guys, we're going to talk about how this pride tape affects the city of Toronto as they're on the precipice of winning their first Stanley Cup in 70,000 years. Legitimately, that was part of the conversation. We were like, how does this affect the Leafs? And I'm like, oh, we're finally arrived there. That's where we got. How does this pride tape affect the Leafs' chances?
What I think they should have done is they should have said, hey, listen, here's our Pride Night. It coincides with this event that's not part of hockey, and you do whatever you want to do. If you want to wear a Pride jersey, you want to wear a Pride hat, you want to wear socks that are rainbow colored, you go nuts, right? And then leave it up to the kids. Here's the other thing. I think it's unfair to put that kind of pressure on what is potentially the dumbest group of people in our society. I love watching hockey, but they're all morons.
Well, they're the least most educated
they're really
out of all
good
the professional
at stick
athletes.
handling.
Yes, yeah, they're good at they are.
They're not.
No,
you bring up too much pressure to put on that group collectively. Yeah, like, and listen, some of them are smart.
I wasn't joking about the Stalls collectively having 12 grades of education between the 3 or 4 of them, by the way. I wasn't even kidding. Like, to that point, and you know this, right, Scott? That NHL players, because they leave home at like 14, 15 to go play junior and stuff like that, and then they
don't have time for school.
No, they don't go to school, bro. And so when they get out of school, they're like, I don't like pride tape. And someone's like, why not? And just like, apples. And you're like, okay, dude, can you score a goal though? And he's like, bicycles. And you're like, all right, you go right at it, fella. Good for you. No pride tape.
Yeah, I think Lachlan's right, though. I think that's what you got to do.
We're stereotyping.
Let everyone who wants to do it, and everyone who doesn't want to do it, okay, fine. That's fine.
Yeah. You know what you've done, Bettman? You've made it a thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And now everyone's hyper-focused on it, and
we're not talking
3
about
assholes on a podcast are talking about whether or not Bedard went out with his,
Yeah. Can you imagine
rainbow-colored underwear?
Like,
who cares?
The only thing that I don't like about the ban, and I don't like anything about it because it's like it was kind of a nice thing, right? Like inclusive space, everybody's allowed to be here. You had people showing up. I'm sure there's gay players in the NHL that do appreciate it, that have to hide their sexuality. I totally get it. I understand. And it's uncomfortable for them. But like it just gives gas to those guys that think it's everything that is pride related might make them or their family gay. Right? Like that's the thing that makes me crazy about this. It's like, they kind of won, right? And I liked watching rednecks get uncomfortable. I just do. It's just my thing. I always have.
Honestly, if you think that Pride Night might make you or your family gay,
you're pretty close.
I don't even know what to say.
Well, dude, you're pretty close anyway.
That's what I
You're
said.
probably on
I
the
said
fence, and you just need someone to tell you, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
If you're concerned,
I had a buddy
your
bugging
Pride
me.
Night is that your child is gay because he sees Connor Bedard's gay stick with the gay tape on it, might turn him gay, might turn your son gay. You're probably gay, to Scott's point. You're probably would love to be
somebody
somewhere
go
else.
get that kid.
Yeah.
Somebody go get that kid and remove it from that guy's family.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let the aunt look after him.
One of the other things that Scott and I haven't connected, by the way, Scott's been busy because he's a stock market mentor. Stockmarketmentor.com at Scott Trades. Follow him. Started this new crypto thing, and I'm going to get to crypto in a second because we've got one of the greatest trials in the world going on now, and nobody's talking about it because there's so many wars and religious.
Are you started your own crypto?
Oh no, he started a crypto
Lockcoin.
Lockcoin is that what you call it?
Yeah.
Lachlan coin, just to piss him right off. The Lachlan Cross coin. So
the future of finance
nice on this podcast.
It's the future of finance.
We're putting Scott on.
The lock
putting
coin.
Scott on. Be nice, Lock. Be nice. Don't abuse him about Bitcoin for an hour.
Okay.
So I was trying to be nice here, but if you started your own fucking Bitcoin, I don't know if I'm going to be able to continue.
He didn't. We'll get to that in a second because I
That's
want to
what
talk
you
about.
just said.
Well, no, he started an educational symposium. Like he has subscribers that he actually educates on it because he's one of the people you can trust.
I can help everybody out with that. Get out of it.
Face. Look at Scott's face.
People.
Dude,
get the fuck out of it. What are you doing? Put your money in your backyard.
No.
Dig a hole.
Shush.
And then wrap it in saran wrap. Make sure it doesn't get wet. And put it in the back.
No.
And then go to Costco and buy some gold bullion.
Don't do that. Scott educates people about the tech, educates people when to buy, when to sell. There's still lots of money to be made, and you need little quarters of it. I get it. But what Scott did this week, which he beat everybody to this. Like he's at the tip of the spear when it comes to educating people as far as trading, finance, that kind of stuff. Tip of the spear when it comes to UFOs and Bigfoot too, because for the past 2 months, as he's been, this is why I'm worried about him. Scott, I didn't want to tell you this offline. I want to tell you this online.
Okay.
This is one of the things I'm worried about because I stopped hearing from you. No, I know you're into crypto education. No, you're very bright. You're a financial guy. And all I started to get was a steady stream of like alien information is being released. Have a look at this little thing flying through the sky. The U.S. Navy's about to dump a whole bunch of information. And then he sent me a couple days ago. He's like, Bigfoot's real.
I just send you stuff that I go, oh, Dean's going to like this. I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm always like,
oh my God,
Dean's going to dig this.
I do.
You know, Dean's pretty messed up like I am. He's going to like this video.
Scott, are you talking about the video that last couple of days has gone viral with the?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, I sent it to Dean a few
the one
days
that
ago.
crouches.
Well, hold it.
Yeah.
You sent it to me a few days ago. You were the first. Like I'm like, and I saw it, and I'm like, oh, Scott's crazy. I was like, oh, Scott's crazy. He sent me another like crazy person tinfoil hat video. Like something.
Dude, I sent you a UFO video, and you're like, oh no, I want to talk to you about this stuff.
UFO videos, and then I'm like, do I talk to him about it? Because I'm just gonna end up mocking him. That's it. That's all I'm gonna do.
Scott, you can send that stuff to me too.
Okay,
you can send that. Yeah, fire the UFO and the Sasquatch stuff at me because I'm on board.
Okay.
I've had so many people reaching out to me about this Sasquatch video.
Yeah, explain this to me. Where is your interest before we get to the video, and we'll talk about Bigfoot and the video itself. But like, so do
you believe in this, Scott?
Yeah.
No, I think it's some guy dressed up, and he's probably a hunter. But I thought it was kind of funny because the guy who's obviously the video is some guy who's probably on a train or something going through the mountains, and he and his family see this thing walking around, and it looks a bit like Bigfoot. Now, I think it's probably some hunter who's in one of those, gitches where he's trying to be camouflage and, shoot a deer in the face. That's probably what it is. But it's weird that he just kind of sits down in the bushes and it looks like he's rocking back and forth a little bit. And I thought, oh, wow.
Dean, you got to play this video because I have some thoughts.
I have the video here. And by the way, Scott is totally changing his story. Like, he believes in Bigfoot. You can't, if you believe in all the alien, because you're an alien guy, right? Like
I believe aliens exist.
All right.
Dean, let's be real. There's a trillion different galaxies in the universe. A trillion. Yeah. You think we're the only ones that grew out of the ground? Come on. Even in our galaxy, 400 billion stars.
Come on.
You think we're the only ones?
No, I don't.
We figured out computers first.
No, I don't. I don't. I think we figured out space flight first. Fuck, we can barely we haven't even figured that out yet.
We can't even get along with each other about masks. Come on. There's far more advanced species out there than us.
I know there is, but you believe, and I do too. I believe that it's impossible to think that we are alone. I believe that it's ridiculous to think that out of everything that we've seen, out of every fucking piece of evidence that we've seen of this, and in Mexico, was there, did they unveil any of those? No, I don't think they did. They were cakes. That's what I heard. Remember Mexico? They're like, these are the aliens. I was like, it's a cake, actually. Some guy made a really realistic cake look like an alien cadaver. But the Bigfoot stuff is a stretch. Like because you send me all the other shit, I'm like, he's gone. He's lost his fucking mind.
I don't know.
The market has been so boring, man. The market has been so boring.
Yeah,
the last 2 months, I'm like, looking for anything. Anyways, play the
Here's a video. 2 people on a train, and we'll play it. We'll read their.
It's a tour. It's like
there's a whole bunch of people. Colorado. Yeah. Someone's like the elusive Bigfoot, and I'm like, oh, use the word elusive. This is totally a fucking setup. Anyway, let's watch it together.
It's an elusive creature.
There it is.
All right, just squat it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me see your camera. I'll do it.
See him there? See him? Right? The elusive creature. You guys.
Him rocking. He's rocking back and forth.
He is. He's rocking. He goes and he crouches down, and he's the same color as the brushes, and he's the same color as the crap. And he's rocking back and forth like he's, pardon me, autistic. Maybe it's an autistic Bigfoot. Maybe this Bigfoot's on the spectrum. You don't know that. And again, this is like a picture of Bigfoot.
I don't know.
They say,
legit, guys.
Yeah, it's blurry. Which fucking like, how is it we've never been able to get a non-blurry photo of Bigfoot? Like that's the
guy. Cameraman's always been on a train too, which is weird.
Here's the problem I have with the Bigfoot conversation, and I know, like, honestly, I have met people, you guys,
that it's not real.
I was at a barbecue one time, and this guy.
Look at this. Hang on.
That's proven fake. The guy that was in that costume came out years later and admitted that his buddy paid him to run around, and then they filmed it.
That's the most famous one. And then you've got the other blurry Big Mountain Bigfoot, again, blurry. That one.
I don't know anything about that one.
The Blue Mountain Bigfoot sighting, blurry. There you go. Another one. Provo Canyon Bigfoot 2012 picture, very blurry. Is this the same blurry Bigfoot, or are just all Bigfoots blurry? Because Mitch Hedburg might have been right. Like, that's my question.
So
Mitch Hedburg might have been right, because he's like, I
can't believe how much you looked into this, dude. I can't believe how much you Googled Bigfoot because I sent you a video. That's amazing. Look at the control I have over you, Dean.
I was in one last night Googling Bigfoot shit. And I'm like, holy fuck, every single picture was from the back, from the side. Yeah. They're all super blurry. And then I started, because you're Googling Bigfoot stuff, everything cool about Bigfoot comes up. And then the Mitch Hedberg skit came up. And he's like, I think the problem is Bigfoot is blurry. That's been the problem the whole time. And I started dying laughing because I spent 5 hours reading about Bigfoot. And then I came to a conclusion. I'm like, anybody that spends any amount of time trying to find this thing is the dumbest fucking human being alive.
Dude.
Just the stupidest humans on the planet. And we have a lot of stupid humans on planet Earth.
I've never Googled Bigfoot in my life. Like the video that I sent you, the 10-second, that's the most I've ever looked into it.
I did it all day. Absolutely wasted my fucking precious time.
Okay.
It was unbelievable.
Amazing.
Anyway, Bigfoot doesn't exist at all.
There's a guy in town, guys.
Is he one of those?
Owns a very, very successful business. And he hired me for a remote, and I went out and I did an afternoon, like, you know, the radio remotes, and I sold his merchandise on the radio. And then he invited me for a beer. And when I'm walking to the back to have a beer with him at the end of the day, one of his cohorts says to me, he goes, "Hey," I'm making up his name, "Larry's really into Bigfoot, so he's probably going to bring it up." And I went, "What?" And I'm like, "You really?" He goes, No. You have no idea.
What do you mean, he was interested in the subject, or he's actively a Bigfoot hunter? Like a guy that looks for these big feet.
He's a hunter. Okay, so I go back and I sit there and I can't get away from this guy. It's an hour and a half.
I would not leave, dude.
hours.
I would talk to that guy the whole time. I'd be like, you got to tell me more about this stuff.
Dude, so this is how far down the rabbit hole he's gone. He will actually plan a yearly trip, and he's got a bunch of buddies that and I found out afterwards, because I started talking about this on the radio, and his buddies were calling in and stuff like that. And they were like, "We go with him, but we don't expect to see Bigfoot. He needs company." Like, they legitimately go. And if there's any even remote sightings, I bet you he's seen that video. And I bet you his next trip is to Colorado. And he's called up his 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 buddies. And he drives them all down there. And they go down there with gear. They go down there with night vision goggles.
Goggles. Yeah. A net.
Dude, wow. They got quads. They got everything. They go hunting, and I couldn't get enough of this guy. I should give his name out, but I'm not going to.
I feel sorry kind of for guys like that. Like, part of me thinks they're cute.
I
and
don't.
Part of me
he
is like,
loves it.
Probably but dude, there's no empirical proof that Bigfoot exists other than
I think we just saw it.
Well, blurry Bigfoot exists. Pardon me. Yeah, and any.
Here's the problem I have.
Get from like Assiniboia Valley all the way down to Provo, Utah, in like days. It's unbelievable. So fast.
Here's the problem I have with Bigfoot.
Well, it's not real. That's the problem I have with it.
No. Here's the problem I have with it. We have people all around the world right now actively in areas where they're digging for stuff, and they're pulling out bones of creatures that were here thousands of years ago. We have museums dedicated to the existence of dinosaurs, and you can take the kids to it, and there's books about it. And listen,
not
maybe I'm wrong.
Bigfoot skeleton anywhere. I know.
One Bigfoot skeleton anywhere. Earth is a big place, but you think at some point someone would have stumbled across a carcass.
Yeah.
Right? Or,
like the aliens, they found the skeletons. Case closed. Right? Am I right, people?
Did you see, Scotty, what did you make of did you enjoy the Mexican unveiling of the aliens about a month and a half ago?
I thought it was cool.
Weird.
I didn't see anyone debunk it other than the play video of "It's cake." I actually did not see anyone debunk that video. I didn't see any government come out and say, "Mexico's playing a trick, guys. This is not real." No one came out to say that. In fact, from what I understand, they allowed people to X-ray it themselves. And universities did, and they said, I don't know what it is, but it isn't fake. So I don't know. More proof there than there is in the Bigfoot.
That guy, though,
totally.
A bunch of people have been trying to discredit him, though.
Evidently he came out with, or he was fooled before, where he brought something forward that wasn't what he said it was, or wasn't what he thought it was. And I think that's the case.
Is that what he told people? He's like, I got fooled the first time. This time I'm totally not getting fooled because these are for sure aliens.
Well, I guess they did like carbon dating. They did, ultrasound, X-rays, all that stuff. And I've looked into that for, again, 5 whole minutes of my life. But that's my understanding, is like he was fooled, or he brought something, I think when you live in that world, you believe it. You want it to be so bad. You want it to be so bad that anything that even is remotely close, you're like, you see, that's my proof. That's all I needed. And then you just go, you put the blinders on and you go forward. So
what they say about how he got fooled was they think that back in the day, certain groups of early man, when they would construct things in the grave. Like they would take the head of a deer and a body of this or something like that. They're not exactly sure why they were doing it. So what he came across was a very odd shaped skeleton, and it didn't have the proportions of a human. And that's what they're saying. But again, when people go out of their way to try and bring forth information about aliens or the existence of this or this, that, or not, there are groups of people that go crazy trying to prove them wrong because it doesn't fit into their narrative. So there's that effort on the part of, so that's why I think this conversation's getting more and more interesting, because there seems to be more and more credible people coming forward with sightings, and the conversation has changed in the last 5-10 years about the existence of aliens, and also the efforts that we've made to try to hide it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so the counterintelligence that they use to kind of mess with people. So there is evidence that the CIA, to be honest, I wasn't prepared to talk about aliens today. So, I apologize if I'm not, fully up to date with my details. But my understanding
just
is
so
that
you're more qualified than us, because you're a tinfoil hat guy. Yeah. Go for it.
My understanding is that, the CIA and internal affairs, all these government agencies would find someone who would be sniffing around about aliens or UFOs or sensors that the government would have. And then they would actually kind of make it worse and send these people on a wild goose chase. And there's actually history of some people actually going crazy and killing themselves because the government agencies, the counterintelligence people, would drive these people so nuts with you're definitely onto something. You should go over here and then look at this thing. And, it'd be either real or fake. And they'd give them some real information, but then they'd also give them some fake information. And so they wouldn't be able to tell what's real and what's
Why does that make me laugh? Why is that bad? Is it my bad person if I think that that's funny to send idiots on a wild goose chase just for fun?
Well, I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that, you should definitely watch the interview with David Grutch. David Grutch is the guy who spoke in front of Congress, who did all this research, who had people who saw things come to him, swear under oath and say, here's what's happening. this is what I'm aware of. And now it's off my chest.
They're trying to fuck him. And then the other problem is what ends up happening is and he's a prime example. He's a perfect example of what you're talking about. So then they use him as a sort of a patsy, and then they let people go after him in the press, and they go after things,
he has mental health issues. Don't you understand? Everything he says is fake now because, he's a veteran and he has mental health issues.
He had a drinking problem or whatever. Like he got drunk one night at a casino and got arrested. Just normal everyday shit.
He's a pedophile. You can't trust anything he says. Everyone's a pedophile.
So you're right. That's exactly what ends up happening. I still think though that, and it's the sort of the state of, and we're still at early stages of it, even though podcasts have been around for 10 plus years, but we're at an early stage in our sort of revamping of the media landscape in not just Canada, but North America and around the world. And you have so many people out there that have access to, ears and eyes that aren't controlled by, something, somebody or
a government agency or a higher power that says you can't talk about certain things. Yeah, dude, that's a great part of the internet. Is there? It's how many things I've said that
it's
other
a bad
people get
thing.
Pissed off, like lots.
It can be a bad thing, but it also can be an interesting thing where it opens up the door for conversations you wouldn't normally have, right?
Yeah.
I think there's been the Lazar stuff is intriguing to me because I remember that. And I know, Dean, you and I have talked about Bob Lazar, the guy that apparently was hired by some American.
He was like an alien mechanic. He was a mechanic on a bunch of alien like ships and stuff. And he came out and Bob Lazar's like, I'm working on these ships. And he got discredited for 30 years. And he like had to go into hiding somewhere in the desert. He's like, fuck, I can't handle this anymore. People think I'm nuts.
But that guy's story has never changed. He was saying the same things.
Yeah.
And the things he was saying back in the 80s, the late 80s. And I remember the TV coverage when his name popped up again and he ended up on Rogan. And it was kind of brought to the forefront again. I remember because I've always been sort of intrigued by aliens and I was a sci-fi kid and I watched those movies and everything like that. I remember when that happened in the 80s when they had him in the van and he wouldn't show his face and I had an instant memory of it. And people have gone back now and taken a look at what he was saying at the beginning and what he's saying, 15 years later, 20 years, 30 years later.
It never evolved. He said the same thing. Yeah, he stuck to it.
And now there's people that are actually coming back and verifying, oh yeah, no, he's right. That machine was used to access that building. And the funny thing about him is that he had no right being there. They didn't know what to do with whatever it is that they were working on. So, and he was this guy that would put like a rocket on a Civic, right? And they're like, well, let's bring this asshole in. He's obviously smart and we're trying to reverse engineer this stuff. Maybe we can learn something. Like they were literally probably at a point where they didn't know where to go. So they went and just found this guy and they tried to ruin this guy's life. And he just went off into the woodwork, stayed quiet for a long, long time, kept to himself, quieted down, and then he gets brought back out again. And now everybody's talking about this Bob Lazar again. And he's now he's part of the zeitgeist of this UFO information.
Yeah, he's like one of the only people that ever give an account of what he calls an alien reactor, like that provides energy. That was one of the things that they still don't understand how it works. And he came out, he's like, yeah, I worked on this thing. I don't get how it works. Everybody's like,
it produces its own gravity is what he was saying.
Yeah.
Which is, according to scientists that have looked into what he was saying,
anti-gravity reactor.
Yes. Anti-gravity reactor, which sounds crazy, but they're saying that that's the only way that anybody could potentially travel that quickly through space and time, right? You would have to have some kind of we sound like we know what we're talking about, don't we?
You guys know exactly what you're talking about, but think about how little we know about gravity generally. And so, if there's a civilization that was, let's say, it's us, but it's us 100,000 years from now, think about how fast technology moves anyways. What if a species, a human-like species, has 100,000 years ahead of us? They're going to know a lot more than we do. And so again, my thought is just numbers, probabilities. If there's 800 billion different stars within just our galaxy, I got to think there's probably more than just us that have, been able to figure out how to walk. The
hubris of the human race to believe that we're the only fucking, living things, living sentient beings in a universe.
They are doing math on that right now, Scott.
Are they really?
They are doing math, and they're doing math based on how many stars, and then they're projecting it out, obviously, right?
Totally.
And then the probability of if there's this many galaxies, this many stars, and there's this many habitable planets, how many of them potentially could support life, a life form, an intelligent life form. And so they're trying to break it down to see, okay, is there 10? Is there 100? Is there 1,000?
Yeah, if you could put our universe up against other universes in the multiverse, I guess I'm no fucking
galaxy, Dean. Galaxy. Sure,
Neil Tyson deGrasse.
But I mean, you saw that picture from
800 million suns, right? And there are planets that are this far as the planet Earth is from our sun in other galaxies, same kind of distance, same kind of ecology. It's got to exist in a
Absolutely.
blackness of a trillion other stars, right? Like we just know that. But if you're a Christian, you don't believe any of those things. Depending on the kind of Christian.
And I'm okay.
Or if you're religious, sell it.
I'm 100. I'm 100% okay with that.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, Scotty, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Do you want to talk about SBF?
I do, because speaking of aliens, what a good looking
Can you
couple.
show me a picture of this loser again? Because when you told me we were okay, I do know about this guy.
Yeah. Sam Bankman Fried, former.
What was the name of his crypto?
FTX, I believe.
FTX.
Yeah.
FTX was the exchange, and the exchange was essentially held up by this FTT token.
Okay. So this is a trial that, if you remember correctly, Sam Bankman Fried, like massive fall from grace about a year ago, if I'm not mistaken, Scott. Basically, they were
hiding in the Bahamas, right?
He's hiding in the Bahamas.
He was,
Stories about League of Legends or something. His girlfriend, Ellison. Anyway, it hit the fan yesterday. And the reason why I wanted to talk to you about it is because a couple of things. Thai hookers made an appearance in the actual court docket. There were Thai hookers that were part of this discussion. Chinese bribes were part of the discussion as well, bribing the Chinese to get access to Bitcoin when he started to go insolvent. But the real important part for me, and I need you to explain this to me, because it seemed like in yesterday's testimony, not only is Sam Bankman Fried the heartbeat of all the fraud and the loss of tens of billions of dollars didn't belong to him. The way it was explained to me, I could be wrong, is that it sounds like that was a Ponzi scheme. I'm not saying Bitcoin is a Ponzi scheme, but taking money from here, putting it over there to pay these guys, and then is variably it is a Ponzi scheme, correct? So break it down for me. What's going on?
Yeah, so I mean, I reported on this in my Hot Wallet podcast last year when it happened, and my argument back then, some of you may remember, was that this was not a crypto issue. This was not a Bitcoin issue. This is a centralized exchange who took out loans, started spending way too much money. You may remember FTX sponsored Tom Brady. FTX sponsored the Miami Heat Arena. I mean, they're spending money like crazy. And then what happens is the market starts to turn, and all of a sudden, people who had loaned them money, are trying to get it back, and FTX doesn't have it. And so what do? They end up selling users' funds. And so if you had money on the FTX exchange, they would sell that, not tell you that they sold it, and then take that money and give it to, whoever they owe money to. And eventually this house of cards really came crashing down with, CZ from the exchange Binance, kind of catching wind about FTX not being as solvent as they said they would. And so he said, we own a bunch of this FTX token, FTT, and I think we're gonna sell all of this, just for our own safety. We don't want to be part of another Luna. And you may remember Terra Luna is the one that crashed earlier last year. And so they said, no, we don't want to be a part of this, so we're going to sell it. And then FTT starts crashing. And if your valuation is all based on this made up token that you have, all of a sudden you don't actually have any money, because you said you had $8 billion, but it was actually $8 billion worth of this pretend token that you just invented. And so people started selling and selling and selling. All of a sudden, FTX has to sell all the consumer funds, and the whole house of cards comes crashing down. And so that's basically what happened. And what we're getting out of this court case is so much drama. I mean, there's political donations. We're hearing that Sam Bankman Fried actually had presidential aspirations. And so he was donating heavily to the Democratic Party of the United States. There are other people within FTX that was donating to the Republicans. They're really trying to get political favor. And the whole time this was going on, Sam was basically saying, it's fine, break whatever laws we need to do. Let's lie to whoever we need to lie to. Let's do whatever we need to do, because the greater good is that everything will be fine at the end of this. And as we know, everything was not.
So, okay. Unbelievable breakdown. Yeah, unbelievable breakdown, right? Only question in my mind. Is there a sex tape of these two hotties?
God, I hope not. My goodness.
That's his
I don't know what this says about me, but I would watch it.
Yeah. So the woman on the left-hand side, that's Carolyn Ellison, and she was the head of Alameda Research, which was basically the prop trading firm supposedly unrelated to FTX. So Sam was in charge of FTX, the exchange where people can buy and sell crypto. And then Carolyn was in charge of Alameda Research, kind of this prop trading firm. And it turns out FTX actually didn't even have a bank account. They couldn't get a bank account even in the Bahamas. So anytime people sent money, if I'm sending money to an exchange to do trading, the money actually went to Alameda Research. So it was under Carolyn Ellison. And so everyone who thinks they have money on FTX actually doesn't, because they don't have a bank account. So it's Alameda Research that actually has the money. And but it's essentially fraud, because they pretended that it was on this exchange. And during this whole breakdown, Carolyn, sorry to cut you off, just one sec, Locke. During this whole breakdown, Carolyn said yesterday in court, or the other day in court, that essentially Sam Bankman Fried directed her to commit these crimes. And so Carolyn has already pled guilty. She's working with the government, and along with some other members of FTX and Alameda Research who have also pled guilty. And now everyone is trying to gang up on Sam Bankman Fried, who is now facing over 100 years in prison. And it looks like he's probably going to go to jail.
Oh, yeah. Fuck yeah. He's going to jail.
No, he's long time. He's not going to jail.
He's going to jail.
And his parents are very wealthy. His parents are very well known. Again, heavy Democratic Party donators and stuff like that. And he actually had his parents working for him on all of these boards. And so, Carolyn Ellison, being the CEO of Alameda Research, she was getting paid about $200,000 a year, but was given a $20 million bonus. And Sam's parents were also on the boards of these organizations. At one point, Sam's dad was complaining because he was only getting paid $20,000 per month, and he was expecting more. And Sam's dad wrote an email saying, "Well, maybe you should talk to your mom about this, because I think I should get more money. So I'll send your mom to you, and then you guys can discuss how I get paid more." It's hilarious. So there's so much gold coming out of this court case, man.
Oh, dude, like the Thai hookers. You better give me more money, or your mother's gonna have an issue with you. I mean, that's just the start of how incredible this is. The on again, off again relationship. The fact they use QuickBooks, didn't have a bank account. The fact they had like $100 billion and managed to fucking figure out a way to get people to give them to, even though they were running it like it was literally like a yard lawn service for teenagers, right? Like, that's just fucking unbelievable to me. Locke, didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. I have a question, and this is a legitimate question based on my lack of knowledge of crypto, outside of the fact that I think you're crazy for doing what you do. Is this not, and you laid it out beautifully, Scott, but did you not just explain cryptocurrency as a whole? Not just this example?
Well, no, I explained what a centralized exchange is like, and what fraud looks like. And so these are people who committed fraud. This is not a problem with Bitcoin. The Bitcoin blockchain didn't even stop going. The ledger is still working. The software is still running. People can still use the network to sell or buy and sell and send money to each other. That's what blockchain
Bitcoin
is.
If you are going to get into it, and I think this needs to be said out loud, you should probably avoid these startups in the cryptocurrency world, right?
Everything other than Bitcoin is a venture capitalist idea. It really is
potentially
high risk.
Potentially could be exactly like this SBF setup.
There's 7,000 plus cryptocurrencies, Locke. And so the probability is, again, looking at numbers, some of them probably aren't going to make it. And so, what I teach people through Crypto Market Mentor is, basically stick to the institutional grade assets, the ones that big corporations like Microsoft come out and say, hey, we like their technology, we're going to partner with them. Let's focus on those. Let's focus on the ones that are real, things like Bitcoin, things like Ethereum, Chainlink, Solana, projects that have real possibility. There are a ton of shitcoins out there. And my belief is, 95% of this industry is probably going to be zero. Just like during the dot-com bubble, when 95% of all the dot-com stocks that were going up in the early 2000s, they also ended up going bust. And that's just how markets work. And the market will figure out which ones are real and which ones will survive, just like they always have. And so it's just a matter of managing your risk in that way.
Okay, let's manage the risk in NFTs, because NFTs, like if you're saying the market of shitcoins is going to zero out, and 95% of those VIs are going to be toast, then you're looking at an NFT market that, you know, if you read Rolling Stone or if you read some of the recent articles around NFTs, they've lost 95% of their value too. Effectively worthless. Those are two of the words that I have been reading quite a bit. Is that true? Like, have we just kind of uncovered, because with what Lachlan said, so I want to know if that's true, but because what we've uncovered and what part of your conversation that you're having as an educator is, if you're going to get into that game, here's the safest people to work with. But it is sort of the same thing. It's like, here's my money for a space on your computer. Here's my money to hold in value and to hold the energy of what I do. And I get that part of Bitcoin, but isn't that whole idea, here's my money, this is what this is worth. Now we can borrow a bunch of money. And if the market goes down, like what happened to FTX is happening to Binance, has happened to every other coin, right? Which is an exchange right now, which is like, hey, you don't have the money to cover the shit, right? And that in itself, as you've described it, is like the foundation of a Ponzi scheme, so to speak.
Yeah, but this is not the first time that this has happened. This has happened many times in the stock market.
But isn't that what this is?
I was just going to say, it's also the template for business in the United States of America.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, well, it really is, right? And I mean, there's so many instances where major institutions over lever on one end and then, you know, get into trouble on the other, and everything comes crashing down. You know, look up the 2008 financial crisis. That's exactly what happened. And so, you know, what we see over and over.
Based.
Yeah, that was real estate based. And, you know, there's another one, long-term capital management in the, I think it was late 90s, you know, same kind of thing happened. And so this is not anything new. And, you know, crypto is a new asset class. And, you know, unfortunately, it's still run by people, and people tend to make the same mistakes over and over. And so
I also find that people, on top of making mistakes, Scott, and I hate to jump in, people are quite often when it comes
to jump in, you love jumping in. You're a big.
I do.
You live for it. Yeah.
But I'm trying to say I'm sorry for it, to make it you guys feel better.
Even though you're going to do it anyway. Yeah. No. Go ahead. I love it.
I also find that most people, if given an opportunity to make a shit ton of money, will make very questionable decisions in life and live on the fine edge of the moral compass. So you're dealing with, and I've said this before, if you meet somebody who made a shit ton of money, like, when we're talking about money, I'm not talking about, oh, he owns his own house and he bought a really nice car. No, I'm talking about guys that make a lot of fucking money, and they didn't do it pitching a softball or a baseball. They probably did something questionable to get there. That's just the world we live in. I'm sorry, but anybody with a shit ton of money that made it themselves, or dad made it,
either invented something nobody else invented, or they stole it and told everybody they invented it. That kind of thing. Yeah. And it's probably more the second part. Like, if you look at Elon Musk's success, it's from basically stealing or buying other people's work and passing it off as his own.
Exactly.
Rockets, cars, Twitter. I mean, Jesus, dude. Like, it's all over. Neuralink. I don't know, the flamethrowers, the Boring Company. Like, if he bought all of those from other people and passed them off as himself, to your point. Yes. Correct. Yeah.
Anyway. So, I mean, that's just the world that we live in. And you got to get comfortable with it, right? Like, we have you hear deals all the time and no one really digs into it. And like, Daryl Cates took the city of Edmonton for a complete ride. Like, I'm talking a complete and total ride on the arena deal here. And I mean, I don't know enough about it, but there is no way that made any sense on paper. And then all of a sudden, people just started like dropping out of, like, just, hey, I'm going to retire now after that deal was signed. We'll let somebody else run the city. And I'm like,
yeah.
Well, I mean, what happened in Ontario? What happened in Ontario, right? I mean, you know, all these people,
I was actually going to make fun of you. Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry, Scott. So go.
No.
I was going to say with Doug Ford in the Greenbelt, right? You know, you see these people who are now driving Maseratis who, you know, evidently are just consultants. And you're like, how did you get that Maserati the day after you sold that plot of land
oh my
north
God,
of
it
Toronto?
is so hilarious here. To
right?
your point,
So,
yeah, people never become billionaires like overnight. Like 28-year-old guys like Ryan Amato don't drive a Lamborghini Countach 3 years after getting out of fucking community college unless someone gave it to him, right? Or unless he did something terrible to that point. And the Greenbelt's a great example because, you know, you talk about super rich people that steal or take or tilt the table in their direction as much as they fucking possibly can with no regard for anybody else. That's a very socialist way to think. I'm glad we're all thinking that way, by the way. Good for you, Locke, being in Alberta. Good for you, Scott. I know you're a little bit of a socialist yourself. However, you had the richest families in all of Ontario, these developer families, the Cordelucci's, the Gaspers, like multi-billionaires stealing farmland from poor farmers so they can build on it on behalf of the government who helped them do that. It bears out to Lachlan's point, to Scott's point. Totally, man. I mean, it's just what we see. And that is crypto. And that's why I laugh at all those pictures of those guys. They're in like Vegas, right? They're pouring champagne on their Rolexes. This is like a year and a half ago when Bitcoin was at 64,000. You remember that? And everybody's like, whoa, my God, everybody lose their mind. You know where these guys are today? Running from people they owe $40 billion to, like running for their fucking lives. There's this guy called the Crypto King of Canada. Do you remember this story? We posted a story about it a while ago.
Yeah.
A 24-year-old guy.
I do remember that.
He got
didn't
taken
someone like
hostage? Yes.
Oh, yeah. Man, that was brutal. And I mean, that's, you know, that's not what we teach at Crypto Market Mentor, right? Like we are
how to beat guys who stole your money. You don't have that. That's not part of your course.
No, I mean, you know, it's not about scamming. It's about, you know, learning about the technology, understanding what it is, why it's worth something, and why someone may or may not want to invest in it. And so that's what I dedicate my life to because I love technology. I've always loved technology. You know, I was excited 15 years ago when I heard about, or maybe it was 20 years ago when General Motors had their first electric cars. I thought, oh, this makes total sense. And then they quashed them and then they pretended that they didn't exist. And you know, it wasn't until Tesla came out to do this, you know, what they're doing with electric cars. And now we're seeing, you know, kind of a resurgence in automobiles and technology in automobiles is changing for the first time in a long time, in a generation. And that's exciting to me.
There's also something going on there. Honestly, Scott, I mean, I was talking to my wife about this.
Sorry, I don't mind if I interrupt you, is what he should have said.
No. And you might actually agree with me on this, Scott, and you might actually be able to explain this to me. So my wife and I have been shopping for a car. And granted, we haven't, like, I haven't gone to every dealership in Alberta. So I've got a handful of examples of this. But we are not far away from being regulated by not just Canadian government, but governments around the world to only produce and sell a certain percentage of electric cars, right? Like, I don't know what the timeline is, but I know that it's pending. And I know that companies have to stop. Go try to buy a hybrid or an electric car right now.
Impossible.
It's fucking impossible. It is something's happening where the car companies are like, they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I can't figure it out. There's got to be some kind of a money angle. But like, I wanted to do my part. And I said to the wife, I said, at the very least, we should be looking at a hybrid. Try to find a fucking hybrid. It is impossible. Mm-hmm. And I even said to the guy at Volkswagen, because he's like, we're a couple years away. And I'm like, you guys are Volkswagen. Have you not been at the forefront? Like, have you not been like ahead of everybody in the world for manufacturing cars for 100 fucking years? You're telling me that I can't get a hybrid or an electric car from you, and then I'm going to have to wait a year and a half, maybe longer? And he's like, and he's all embarrassed. I'm like, it just doesn't make any sense, right? Like, why can't I buy this, God? And no one's been able to explain it to me yet, but there's something going on with
people
the
hate
hold-off-
gas, and they're tired of fucking putting gas in their car. And hybrids are huge right now. Hybrids are big. Electric cars are big. You got to give it like a year to 2 years before all the first generation shit starts to break down. You'll be able to get in a year to 2 years. You're going to be able to get basically any hybrid. Hybrids are big because they don't completely rely on one or the other. That's why people like hybrids. However,
well, here's another reason.
I can't be the only one walking in,
dude, and they're lying about like
I can't be the only one wanting an electric car.
Yeah, there are
right?
tons.
Like,
that's why you don't have any. You can't find any. Supply and demand. Scott, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I cut you off. So
I
the reason, Locke, is that
interrupt. I didn't. I'm like
the reason, Locke, is that it costs these car companies a lot of money to produce these electric cars. You know, Ford loses money on every electric car it produces because they haven't really streamlined their process yet. You know, Tesla is one of the reason, and you know, say what you will about Elon Musk, the reason that stock is so valuable is because the company actually makes money by selling these cars. If Ford sells an electric car, they might make $900. They might also lose a couple $1,000s. And so they're not really being incentivized to make these cars yet because they're not making any money. And also, you got to think from a manufacturer standpoint, you know, if you had planned on building ICE vehicles, internal combustion engine vehicles for the next 10 years, and then maybe you're going to kind of play around with it when you felt like you needed to, you have a stockpile of parts that you got to go through because you've already bought them. And that's why you see a lot of, you know, manufacturers of ICE vehicles like BMW, the amount of parts that they have in their electric cars, even though they're still electric, is crazy compared to what a Tesla has, because Tesla just built it from the ground up and they said, this is what we're going to do. And then they went forward. Where BMW has all this shit that they got to use. And they say, well, sorry, engineers, we have all of these hoses. Can you please find something to do with them?
I also heard that Tesla did something really smart, and it was Elon Musk saying that they wanted to be self-sufficient. So they were actually putting together and building the parts they needed for the vehicles themselves, as opposed to being reliant on outside production for what they needed to
he did that with SpaceX too. He built his
cars.
own rockets.
Did he?
Yeah, first principles. He's a big first principles guy. It's pretty much the only good thing about him that I agree with is first principles. Like,
anyway, it's frustrating because we need a new car, right? And I'm like, why can't I fucking find? Like, I go.
Is that why you brought this up?
Hey, do you have any?
Is that why you brought this up? Because you were trying to get a deal on a new car?
Listen, trust
me.
me.
Those old school radio things where you're like, I'm dying for a pizza right now. Which someone
you haven't been in radio for a while.
Yeah,
I can't get fucking free tickets.
Has the free
for
stuff
concerts.
dried up in radio? I had no.
Oh, it's dude,
really?
It is so gone. It's not even funny. It's
funny.
So gone.
I actually had someone ask me to apply for a radio job today. Someone in a big corporation messaged me saying, "Hey, would you like to apply for this job?"
And you said,
no. I said, "No, I'm sorry, I'm busy right now."
Did you?
But I wish you the best in your future endeavors.
Was that ever nice? Like in Lethbridge where you live, like they're like, "Hey,
yeah.
Oh, you're kidding." Oh, yeah, because they knew they've got this really nice guy, stock market mentor.
You know why?
Because he's got a trustworthy face. That's why.
No.
Oh, they ran out of people.
No, it's
We can talk offline, Locke. You can tell me why. I don't know the story.
Yeah, you know the story. You were in it not long ago. You were in it not that long ago to remember the type of people that are left in it.
Yeah.
So.
But anyways, yeah. So that's the reason why electric cars, they're taking so long. They got a lot of parts, and a lot of vehicle makers like Ford, for example, they're not making any money on them, and they want the government to pay them to build these battery factories. They want the government handouts to get this all ramped up, and they're just not ready. And that's why Tesla, again, hate Elon Musk all you want, but he's been doing this for 15 plus years. So he has a large runway. You can go and buy a Tesla right now. I mean, I don't know if that's something you want, Locke, but I know I can go on the Tesla website and you can order it and it'll be there within a couple of months.
I just automatically assume everybody in a Tesla is a huge douchebag, so I never want to buy one. Like that, it's like
I don't know if I want a Tesla.
Yeah, I would never buy a Tesla.
My wife hates Elon Musk and would never want us to buy one. So, I'm not saying this from like, I'm a big
She hates Elon Musk and you love Elon Musk. Is that a point of issue in the family?
Oh, yeah. We always fight about it.
About Elon? Yeah. He's a terrible human being. And you're like, those great cars.
He's a douchebag.
Enormous douchebag.
I have a couple of friends with Teslas and they fucking love them. They they rave about them. And I've never driven one, but I've been in one a couple of times.
Don't you look at people that, okay, what are your friends like that own Teslas? Are they douchebags? Or are they nice people?
They occasionally
can douche out,
dress like douchebags.
This is what I'm saying. Crushed it.
I don't know if I would I mean, listen, I'm not worried about what people think of me. Obviously, I mean, you can pick up on that from numerous examples of my life online.
On your face.
But I will say this.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to drive up to Superstore to go get a bag of oranges, some milk, and some sliced ham for sandwiches in my powder blue Tesla. I just don't think I can step out of it in my shack.
I'm shocked there are even because Alberta's big. I love oil and gas. That's one of the hottest selling shirts in Alberta. It's I heart oil and gas. I am shocked. Are there Tesla dealers in Alberta? It's a big oil. It's oil.
Calgary, Calgary and
yeah.
Edmonton.
There's one many on the roads out there.
There's one in
Ontario. They're everywhere.
Dealerships
because we're just a bunch of softies. So we're I don't like going outside. I'm just charge it at home. Yeah, and every time I see somebody, guaranteed it is either and listen, stereotypes exist for a reason. It's either someone from another country or a douchebag. It's never. And I'm not going to, that's as far as I'm going with someone from another country. I live in Markham. Google it. It's either someone from another fucking country or just an enormous waste of time. Like that guy that has the douchebag chin strap beard, and he's got the glasses and he's got the pop collar and stuff like that. And he's the guy that I bought this because the horn makes a farting sound. He's that guy.
There's a guy that drives a Tesla in Edmonton that has a sticker or something. I haven't seen it, but it's been pointed out to me. A sticker or something license plate related that says "I love oil and gas." So you can have a sense of humor with it, I think. Yeah, right? I mean, honestly, listen, the Alberta thing drives me crazy because if we were smart, we would be going out of our way. We have so much money in Alberta. We should be doing whatever we can for whatever industry. It shouldn't matter. Green, oil, gas, it doesn't matter. I think we should be just wide open. Look at the money we have. It's crazy. People are moving here like they're falling over themselves to get here.
I found out you can buy a house in Calgary for $500,000. I'm like, no fucking way. Are you serious? You can buy a house in Edmonton for $250,000. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. That exists. And they're like, yeah, it does.
You're not getting a nice house in Edmonton for $250,000, but you're
$275,000. You can get 5,000 square feet in Edmonton. $275,000.
Yeah, right.
On 4 acres downtown, you can get $275,000.
So the other issue too is the chargers. We don't have enough chargers.
You can buy
chargers
and the cold lock. That's the fear that my wife would have is how cold it gets. We get those 1 or 2 weeks where it's -40, and in the cold, your battery on a Tesla can degrade, 40-50%. And so that's kind of my fear. It's not ready for the Alberta climate right now.
Well, if you're just driving around town from the people that I know that own them in Edmonton and it's cold, you're fine because you can charge it and you can get a couple $100K out of it, right? Even in cold weather. And the problem is if you do travel, if you're like somebody that travels back and forth from, say, Edmonton to Calgary on a fairly regular basis. And we got people now that the state of our industry is consolidation. Our boss lives in Calgary and comes up every 2 weeks. It's not conducive for him to have a vehicle that you'd have to find, halfway there. You have to stop in Red Deer to charge. I know the batteries are getting better, but listen, we got to do something. And if I recycle.
Not according to most people in your neck of the woods. Climate change is a house, and
I don't think. I don't think it's most people. I don't. I think
just a few
there's a
loud
percentage
mouths.
of people that there's some angry people out there that but I think most people are aware that we are having an impact. Whether or not anybody can quantify it definitively, we're having an impact on our environments. And if that means I have to buy a hybrid or an electric car for my next vehicle, I'll fucking do it.
You did your part.
I mean,
you got a scooter, dude. You ride around downtown on your scooter now. Yeah, you're a scooter boy.
Crazy. When I went on a ride last night.
Congratulations.
Damn it. And it's October.
And were you hammered?
So
did you have a couple cocktails on your e-scooter? Yes, you did. Just admit it.
It was past 2 p.m. So yes.
So of course.
Based on the time. Amazing. Oh God, I missed you guys. I really did. Thanks so much for having me on today.
Dude, you are getting out at the right time because I ended the podcast. I wanted to be done like 9 minutes ago. But thanks for doing this, Scotty. Scott Trades at Scott Trades on Twitter, stockmarketmentor.com. What is the Bitcoin stuff you're doing, the education you're doing where you're trying to help people manage their way through the illegal
how to
slash
fill your
collusive
prison wallet, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I would love for people to join us. So we got a promotion on right now. It's $7 US, and you can come hang out with me for 30 days to check out what Bitcoin is all about. I got a bunch of tutorials that will introduce you to blockchain, why it matters, why it's important, how you can make money off it.
Right.
And you just go to stockmarketmentor.com/crypto. You'll see a big picture of my face there. Looks like this. Click that link, and then I'll even give you some free training where you can just watch 30 minutes of training.
Do I get free breakfast?
Can you let him
no.
finish?
Do I have to sleep?
Breakfast in
Is
the
there a place
lobby.
to sleep in the basement? Do I have to sleep in the basement? I got a sleeping bag.
Fuck's sakes.
And
coming.
so take the free training. Even if you don't sign up, 30-minute free training about blockchain. At least you'll learn something. Stockmarketmentor.com/crypto.
Stockmarketmentor.com/crypto. Is there a reason I don't have a link to this at crier.co so we can send people there? Is there a reason
I've been
we don't
very
have
busy, Dean. I've
well,
been too
send
busy.
it to me. All right. I know you have. I know you're too busy trying to find Bigfoot for everybody. That's awesome of you. That's really nice.
I'm counting
Is
the
there a
stars
course-
and the habitable planets.
Yeah, I know you are.
Is there one of your courses, how to go from lawn care to driving a Maserati in 3 months?
Yeah, that's coming up. Yeah, that's next
Apply
month.
for a job with Doug Ford. There you go. Thanks, boys. Scotty, great to see you. At Scott Trades, follow him on Twitter. Hot Wallet is the name of his podcast as well. It's a really good one. Scotty's one of the greatest. I trust that guy. You can trust him. He's got one of those faces, like those faces where you look at him and you're like, I would leave my wife at home with him. I would.
Here's the thing.
I would say, hey, can you hang on to this basket full of gold bullion? I'm just going to go get a Slurpee. He'd be the guy that would be like, hang on to this. I'd come back. All the gold bullion would be there. All of it.
Yeah. He's a good guy. And the other thing is what ends up happening with this podcast is I'm not in the same room with people, right? Like we're in different parts of the country. You bring in guests from all over the world. We have chats with them, and it's very exciting. Thank you for including me on this. I quite often, I never know how far I can go with somebody, like how far you can push. And I love the fact that I can open up the gates, the floodgates on Scott and just go, right?
Yeah. He doesn't care. He's a good dude. You'll love him.
Whereas I do get the sense that there's certain people you have on this podcast that you have kept me away from that probably was a good idea.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. No, there's a reason you haven't been on some of the podcasts I've been doing. Totally. And it has nothing to do with me or the other people on it. All to do with you. Well, you're one of those dudes. Like you're one of those guys. It's like, I didn't have a good experience with that person, so fuck them. I never want to do a podcast with them again. Like that list of people we can podcast with has shrunk significantly over the past like 2 years.
That's not true.
Yeah, it is.
That's not
it's
true.
It's 100% true. So I'm like,
true.
Okay, I got to cross that guy off. And now I've just learned to be proactive where it's like, hey, I'm going to have this guy on the podcast. Locke's like, okay, I'll see you at 4. I'm like, yeah, don't worry about it. I got this. I'll cover this today. It's all good. It's all good because I know you're not going to like that person.
So there's a couple that you've had on that you haven't put me on at all with, and I've never been given the opportunity to piss them off. So it's not all me, but that's a good move on your part, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I never say anything. I just always get so excited to see you anytime you can be on a podcast. That's it. That's all I care about. I know Scotty can deal with you, so it's totally okay. Yeah. Totally okay.
I had a chuckle the other day about you doing your emergency podcast on Monday. We got an emergency podcast. Doug Ford is being investigated by the RCMP. And
criminal investigation.
Good for big you, Dean. You're fucking doing a podcast about a politician being a criminal. It's amazing. You You're changing the world we live in.
Low-hanging fruit. You say emergency anything, everybody's like, fuck, I got to click on that. So
you're telling me that Doug Ford's a criminal? I got to watch this one.
Dude, it is so bad here. Like, the criminality here is incredible. Like I know you got your own shit going on, and I'm so tired of talking about criminal politicians and right-leaning and left-leaning this, and you've got your own issues with Danielle Smith, who's legitimately, like, mentally unwell, as is the entire government you have. We have the exact same mentally unwell assholes, only here they're a well-organized criminal consortium who like to give free shit to their friends so they can stay in power, and they fuck over the protector. And dude, the investigation, I'll just finish off with this. The investigation into Doug Ford, which was announced earlier, it's been going on for a couple of months. Little birdie told me, law enforcement, little birdie told me, not only has it been going on for a couple of months, it is a criminal investigation.
Yeah.
And the Special Investigations Unit, SII, I believe it's called, International Investigations for Corruption, International Investigation for Corruption, is not only investigating him and several members of his cabinet and other people who are involved in the Greenbelt scandal, it is now a widening criminal investigation into some of the donors whose lives were enriched by this land scam to the tune of $9 billion. And on top of it, a little birdie told me some of these developers are very unhappy with Doug Ford. And when I say they're developers, you know what I'm talking about. And they're not happy with him to the point where Doug Ford is actually afraid. So we have what looks to be criminal investigation into some type of organized criminality on behalf of the government. I know.
Shocking.
It's incredible. And here's the thing. The RCMP, they would not have made an announcement. They would have just shut the fuck up. You know how this works, right?
Yeah.
They would not have made an announcement if there wasn't something very fucking serious.
Yeah. What we have in Alberta, and I mean, I don't even, there's so much stuff happening around the world right now that the conversation about, and
seems so petty, doesn't it?
She's benefiting largely from the fact that there's that whatever that is in Israel. Oh my God, whatever that ends up being, it's so bad. And then, you know, what's happening in Ukraine between Russia. She's benefiting from the fact that we're all stressed out in our lives. You know, the amount of energy we have to digest information, news is going elsewhere. But what we do in Alberta, at least what she does in Alberta, the UCP, is if the federal government is involved in it at all, we're going to find our own way of doing it. Like now they're trying to get rid of the CPP and have an Alberta pension plan. It's so ridiculous.
Well, you're getting your own pension, your own police force.
We pay more for electricity than any other province in the country.
Yeah.
Right. But somehow we've got to be mad at the federal government for our power supply and
which they
literally
raped, by the way, they did it.
It's a provincial mandated thing. So anyway, it just drives me absolutely insane. But people buy it because all you have to say is JT and federal government bad.
Right.
We're going to do our own thing. And everyone's like, yeah.
It's because they're stupid.
Screw him.
Yeah. It's because they're stupid. Dude, yeah. I told you this before. And I'll end the podcast with this and an opportunity for you, my friends, to say it with a shirt. We have entered a new phase of the pandemic. This is the stupid people are the new pandemic t-shirt. And I want you to go to Crier Media. This goes to us, helps us do stuff like this, helps us do news, helps us keep guys like Charles Adler in your life, helps us run. $20, 18 to $20. Look at that, $18.50 to $20. You get a stupid people equal the new pandemic shirt. This has never been more true, ever. Say it with a shirt. Crier.co. Go to the shop, buy yourself a shirt, and support us because this is where we're all at together. We're stupid people. Like Doug Ford is not a smart man. Stupid individual. Danielle Smith, also not a smart woman. Stupid individual. We have not the best and the brightest in politics, Locke. I don't know if you know that. We are literally governed by the stupidest people on earth. So the pandemic is going to continue. And if you give us $20, we'll keep telling you about it. And we'll keep taking your side, the side of the taxpayer, side of the people. That's what we do. Go to crier.co, go to the Stupid People Equal New Pandemic shop. You can get a hat, you can get a shirt, snazzy, white, black. I think we got some in gray. Might even be able to get a pink, maybe a baby doll tee. I don't know. You can get a thermos there as well. But that's where we're at. We're in this new phase of the pandemic where we're literally rewarding stupidity by saying, hey, who are the stupid people we can get to tell us what to do? And we'll just say they're the government. And maybe elect better people.
I think a lot of it is people that take advantage of certain rules and stretch things to their own advantage quite often end up being very attracted to politics, because then they can actually be a part of the making the rules that allow them to do the things they need to do. Right.
Yep.
So that's why when I say we have criminals, anybody involved in politics is a criminal. I know I'm exaggerating, and there's
you're close to 100%.
It's probably not that far off.
No,
right?
You're not. You're not that far off. We see it in the States. It's manifesting itself now. We're seeing it in Canada. We see it province to province. We got an entire, and they seem to be conservative governments. Let's just remind you of that. Scott Moe in trouble. He's trying to go to war against pronouns and kids. You got Danielle Smith, Alberta, absolute shit show. Same thing with Manitoba. They just lost. They got their ass kicked by this guy named Wab Canoe. Great dude. And it's coming here and like Doug Ford. And there are people who are going to go to jail who currently sit in big offices and taxpayers pay their entire wad.
I don't think we should get too comfortable with the idea that anybody in any other political party is any different, though. I think that should be said out loud.
Yeah, that's true. We don't see it.
They might just be a little bit better at hiding it.
Yeah, they're smarter.
All right.
Thanks for doing this, dude. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, man. Lock and Cross, 957 Cruise FM in Edmonton. Give them a follow. Give them a listen. Lock and Cross on Twitter. And don't forget, you can get these Stupid People Equal New Pandemic shirts. Go to crier.co. If you go to YouTube, you can watch us. End of the podcast. There's a QR code. There's also a QR code in the description. Would love your support. If you can give us $20, we'll give you a T-shirt. And you're going to say it with that shirt because you're tired of the same shit we are. And let's do this together. Go to crier.co. Shop. Buy yourself a nice shirt, maybe a nice thermal water bottle. You can get a mug there too. You can even get a Dean Blundell hoodie. That's right. I have some. I just don't have the nuts to wear them yet. Seems a little weird. I can't bring myself to do it. It's just how I am. Anyway, thanks everybody for being part of the show. Really appreciate you giving us your time today. Don't forget, as always, brought to you by our friends at Cantork. Cantork.com, makers of custom torque tools like torque wrenches, any bolting, loosening, fastening solution. If you need a bolting solution, they will make you one. They will engineer it. They will manufacture it. They will take care of it. They will service it. They do it for heavy machinery around the world. Again, nuclear, railroad, steel, forestry. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter. If it's a custom bolting solution, they make torque wrenches for that. And they do it for the biggest and the best around the world. So go to Colin's website today. Colin Livingston. He's the principal. It's called Cantork.com. And check it out. He'll get back to you like that. That's the guy Colin is. He's that kind of guy. Also, we're brought to you by Gitch. Ed's Fine Imports is where you can find them. Luxury branded boxer briefs, pouch in the front. You're going to love these things. They're like black. Black's the only color I get. And that's not true. I got a red and an orange, but black's camo, right? Just in case. Always get dark underwear. But they make different colored underwear. I prefer the black. You can get whatever you want. Super breathable, very stretchable, made for everyday performance, but they're also made for you sitting at home and you going out and you going to the gym. Doesn't matter what you have. They're the best underwear you'll ever get. Luxury branded underwear, boxer briefs. Gitch3 is a promo code. Go there today and check it out. Use the promo code. It'll send you a free pair of Gitch on me. You're welcome. Have a great day, everybody. Really appreciate you being part of the program, and we will see you here tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Don't forget to rate and subscribe. YouTube is where you can find crier.co, anywhere you get your fine podcasts as well. And go to crier.co for more information on anything that we do. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.